I believe that behind every photograph are two key parts which come together to make the photograph as a whole. The first part is the photographer's vision, the second part is the technical side which is necessary for the vision to materialise. In this video I capture 3 photographs. For the first photograph I'll show how technical knowledge of my camera helped me create the photograph I pictured in my mind. For the second image I'll discuss how I chose to ignore some of the more technical possibilities that digital photography offers in order to create an authentic image which captured a moment. For my third image I'll discuss how I deliberately chose to capture an image in a way which is not technically perfect in order to emphasise the feeling I had at the moment of capture. Good morning everyone, and I feel incredibly lucky recently. I've had some fantastic mist and fog in the last few days, something I really don't see that often where I've got access to, at least at the moment. So I feel incredibly fortunate, and it's just a privilege to be out in conditions such as this. Hopefully you can see how nice it is. It's just a fantastic atmosphere. Sometimes there's the most gentle of breezes passing through, but overall it's pretty still. This is the first photograph I'm capturing today, and I may take a couple more from this area just because I like the key subject, you could say, so much. And it's that small vibrant tree there which is showing the colours of spring. There's been some rain overnight, everywhere is wet, the woodland is looking fantastic, and we've got this lovely mist just creating that wonderful atmosphere that I love in woodland. What I'm trying to do with my first image here is taking that tree that I spoke about, obviously, but I'm including that small green bush that's growing out from the tree here on the left. And I like I believe it's probably lichen that's growing on the tree there. All the trees around here have got something similar growing on them. It really looks fantastic. And I'm including this tree stump at the bottom right of my image as well. All in the background we've got lovely spring colour. The background's muted with the mist. And it's quite an interesting shot for me to talk about here in terms of the artistic side of photography and also the technical side. So what I'm wanting really here is there's going to be a few little bits of heather in the very bottom of my image, maybe slightly out of focus. That's what I want. I don't want the whole thing sharp at the front. But I really want to ensure that just beyond that, the tree stump is obviously sharp. The focus must start before that and extend to that small tree with the spring colour. And then after that I can get just a little bit softer. That's going to be done by 2 things. One is the mist, and 2 is the technical side of me getting the correct depth of field. Now, something that's quite useful on the camera I'm using, the Fuji X-T4, it's on lots of other cameras as well, is focus peaking. And I've been experimenting with that a little bit, and I find it's pretty accurate. So it's one of many ways to get the correct depth of field in your image, but it's something it's worth experimenting with just to see how it works and how accurate it is on your own camera. Not something I'll use all the time, but just in little occasions such as this it can be quite useful, but you can also do it lots of other ways as well. So I'm quite excited to be working on this composition here. It's a scene that I really like. I think it's got a lot of potential and I think it's really suited to the conditions today. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of fine detail that I've been paying attention to, trying to get the composition set up as best as possible. So I really like this flurry of spring green here. I don't like green so much once we get into summer, but in spring and conditions like this, it really is nice. So we've got that there. We've got some lovely heather in the foreground. We've got this tree in the background, very tall, large tree, darkened and softened with the mist, and its branches are curving over and above this flurry of green. We've got a lovely branch here fallen over, amazing colours and shapes to it, and some quite nice tones on it as well, just for catching the light that's coming down at the moment. Off in the distance we've a tree. You may struggle to see it in the video, but be paying close attention in regards to the positioning of that. So I've wanted this curved branch here just sitting underneath the curved branch in the distance. That's been important to my composition. And then also, speaking about that tree off in the distance there, we've got another one off in the distance to the right of the flurry of green, which I think just balances nicely with the one on the left. Not interested in taking in the large tree to the right, but yeah, this is a composition I'm really pleased with, and the conditions are still fantastic, so I'm going to head off into the mist and look for some more shots. I'm really pleased with this image, and it's a very accurate representation of how the scene looked. You may have noticed from the video that I was paying close attention to my composition when I set up for this photograph. An excellent piece of advice to always try and follow is to check the edges of your frame. You don't want to include anything that in your opinion shouldn't be there. On this foggy day, in this spot, I was surrounded by trees and spring growth, and this scene offered great rewards but many challenges due to that. I was very aware of two small parts of foliage gently moving in the wind and falling into my frame from the trees above me, and I stopped for a minute to consider their impact on the final photograph. Would they be a distraction or would they be a benefit? I leave each scene as I find it, so I certainly wasn't going to remove these physically, but there is of course the potential to do this technically using software and post-processing. I decided on location, which I think is the correct place to do it, that they were part of the scene. I liked their presence and the subtle layer that they formed, and that my final photograph would be authentic and therefore include them. I own and use Photoshop, and it is a fantastic piece of software. It is technically capable of so much. However, as much as is possible, I do like my images to be authentic, and I don't enjoy removing things from photographs and having software fill in the blanks. I do of course shoot in RAW and therefore process my images, but this scene is as I saw it on that day with nothing removed, and for that reason to me it is all the much better. It's just my own thoughts, and there are no rights and wrongs in photography, but for unique moments such as this I like to keep away from the more technical software side of digital photography and keep my photographs as true to the moment as is possible. So here's another little spot in this woodland that I'm tremendously excited about. And the reason I've arrived here is because I was walking through the woodland from a completely different direction to what I'm facing now. And I saw these two trees in the distance, the ones with the green spring colour on them. There's two there. One grows straight up with a branch growing out to the left. And then the tree on the right has got a nice curve to it, sort of leaning to the right. And I saw them from a long way off, and I spent a lot of time looking around to see if I could make an image out of it because they looked just fantastic in the fog. Then I spotted these flowers here, this little splash of colour, and I thought that would work really well if I could work that into my image because it would just be a nice boost of vibrant colour to complement the more muted tones of this foggy day. So I think that works really well. We've also got some interesting heather as well and some other bits and pieces lying on the forest floor. So what I'm doing is including the tree here on the left as framing and the tree on the right, and I like how the branches come in from this one and just gently point towards those trees in the distance in the fog, and that's where I want your eye to go in this image. But another image that I think works really well today, and I'm really pleased that I've found this little spot, and I think it's going to make for a really nice photograph. I'm very happy with this photograph. It matches my vision for what I wanted to achieve, but it is not technically perfect. As I stood at this spot and looked up at the beautiful small gathering of vibrant green trees in the fog, I saw the tremendously tall pine trees tower above them. I wanted that, and the fact that I was looking up a slight hill, to come across in my photo. To include and show the height of some of the tall pine trees and help convey scale, I had to do two things. One was use a wide-angle lens, and the other was to tilt my camera slightly upwards. The effect of this is that some of the trees to the edges of my frame have a slight inward lean. I was very aware of this on location, and it was a conscious decision to do that and embrace the resulting effect, as it really enhances the feeling I had when there of looking up at these distant tall trees. This spot is in what I'd call a subtle valley, so the dark tree to the right was already leaning inwards fairly significantly due to the slope it is on. You can also see that some of the pines are growing on a significant slope and at quite an angle, so my photograph has not enhanced or altered those more central trees. It's just nearer the edges that the effect is noticeable, and I really like it. I saw on location how dynamic it made the scene look, and it helped create the feeling that I had when I was there. So my photograph is technically perfect in terms of focus and sharpness, but you could say it's not technically perfect in terms of the slight angle on some of the trees. However, this was a deliberate decision made at capture. I decided to embrace it, and little things like this can really add a little extra to your photographs. I could of course use software to correct the angle of these trees, but in my opinion the photograph would not be nearly as effective and it wouldn't match my artistic vision. So that's the last image that I'm going to capture today. I've had a fantastic morning. I've been out really early and enjoyed exploring this woodland in the fantastic conditions that I've been fortunate enough to have today. I really do hope you've enjoyed watching and enjoyed the images that I've captured, and I really do appreciate you watching as always. But for now, it's time to head home, get a very late breakfast, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.